Stephen A. Smith.
Are there truly people who would support you
Without question.
running for
I
president?
think I can win it. I'm not playing. I think I can win it.
For the love of God, please stop talking about politics. You have made it clear you are not a politics guy.
Am I an aficionado? No. They live in this lane. They do this for a living. I don't.
Bakari Sellers is right about my lack of depth. My issue is, why are you acting like I act like I have that depth? Sports is my thing. Politics is what I observe.
You say, I'm just a sports guy. Like that means we can't blame you for your lack of informedness. I think you think that saying I'm not a politics guy means you can just freestyle and go off of vibes. Saying I'm really a sports guy is not an excuse to not do your homework as a political commentator. It's not an excuse to be barely literate on the issues that you are discussing. I mean, you can sit on a bar stool or in a barber shop or in your mama's backyard and say whatever uninformed thing you want. But if you start broadcasting your thoughts on politics to like a million people and you don't know what you're talking about, you are fomenting ignorance.
Why are you acting like I act like I have that depth?
Political analysis is about helping people understand what's going on. It's about giving them the context so that they can understand political reality. But you're broadcasting about politics with no research, without really understanding what you're talking about. So you're adding to the lack of understanding in the country.
Because if you listen to Stephen A. Smith and you find anything other than some absolute, pure, self-hating, little dick energy nonsense from that half-witted idiot basking in the non-existent rays of his own ignorance.
And that's why I have a damn show on politics. Because rather than pick one side or another, somebody got to stand up and say, both of y'all are full of it.
So let me get this straight. You looked at the modern political landscape and you concluded that both parties are equally the problem?
Right here on this show, the straight shooter with Stephen A. All of this partisan stuff is coming to an end. I hit everyone. I don't pull punches for liberals or conservatives at the expense of the other. I come at everybody.
Really? Seriously? Republicans hold all the power and they're just letting Trump create this autocracy and shred the Constitution. And you think both parties are the problem? Trump is destroying democracy, contravening the Constitution, and instituting dictatorship. We have a burgeoning autocracy, kakistocracy, kleptocracy, and Republicans who are acting like they are his political butlers, willing to do whatever he wants. But that's not what you're talking about on your politics show.
Straight Shooter with Stephen A.
I watched several hours of your political show, and I don't think you really think both parties are the problem. You think Dems are the real problem. I also think you're not a Democrat.
Yeah, I would be center left. I'm not a Republican.
You sure don't sound like any Democrat I've ever met.
But I'm not sure I disagree with the tariffs just yet. I certainly don't disagree with what he's done with immigration, because I thought it was necessary because of what Biden did. Last time I checked, the economy hasn't collapsed. Inflation may be imminent, if not already here, but we haven't felt the profound effects of that yet. Maybe it's coming, maybe it won't. And I'm not worried about people being in jail and being let out the same day like I was under the previous administration. I ain't apologizing for that. But the reason that I didn't vote for this president, a man that I knew before he went into office, he had events all the time, sporting events, boxing events, and other things. We were always there. That's why you've never heard me calling them racist and comparing them to Nazis. He was cool with us.
What?
There is no doubt that he has done more than practically almost any administration has tried to do when it comes to ending conflicts around the world.
What?
You think somebody wants to hear about due process with somebody that's in this country illegally? They want to hear that. You in the country illegally. Hell with your process.
What you are is a secret Republican. I mean, if you constantly talk like a Republican, if you quack like a duck, a lot of things you say come straight out of the Republican talking points playbook. For example, the whole Kamala nomination conspiracy bullshit that you bought into.
And unlike the Republicans, the conservatives, the elite chose our candidate. The people were bypassed on the Democratic side of the aisle. You circumvented your way as a party around the election process, and you have the audacity to talk about how others are a threat to democracy? Where's the consistency? Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. But somehow you are convinced of this conspiracy theory.
Based on everything we've heard since, it appears his exodus was delayed long enough so once he finally stepped away, Kamala Harris could be placed and inserted right into the mix with no resistance because it was too late to have opposition on her own side of the aisle where she'd have to compete. Then you see the kind of stuff that happened and how the skids were greased to position their preferred candidate for a nominee for the presidency of the United States. The American people didn't make that choice.
This is a wild anti-democratic conspiracy theory for which there is zero evidence. For buying into a ridiculous Republican talking point, 10 secret Republican points. Make no mistake, this is a Republican talking point.
Because that was a coup. That was a coup. And I'm no fan of his at all. And it started with the debate, and from that point on, it just got worse and worse. But that was a coup. It was a vicious, violent overthrow of a president of the United States.
This is a coup. This was taken undemocratically. Is the same as the skids were greased. It's the same sentiment in different words. You and Trump are both arguing that it was not a small d democratic fair fight. This is pure tinfoil hat folly. There was no secret coronation, election, circumvention. No one would have master planned to take the path that they took. But the big point is that Stephen A. thinks because Kamala circumvented the democratic process, Dems can't critique Trump for circumventing democracy on his way to building an autocracy.
What the hell am I supposed to say when you come out talking about somebody being a threat? When you were willing to circumvent every rule imaginable just to get your person in power? It comes across as you being no better than them.
What?
That's being a threat to democracy.
He is not alone in thinking that, but almost everyone who thinks that is a Republican.
I'm not a Republican.
But this, of course, is the real point of the talking point, to distract from Dems saying he's building a dictatorship. Well, look what you did with Biden. I just want to level set for a moment here. This country is in the midst of a real problem. Our democracy is teetering on the brink of death. Trump is creating a dictatorship, and Stephen A. Smith has decided that his role in this national conversation will be to say, well, what about the Democrats? What about what they did? How does that help us deal with this dictatorship? You're doing whataboutism about dictatorship. We are facing the real potential end of American democracy, and your response is, both sides are being undemocratic, so who cares what Democrats have to say about this? This is ultimately just a way of silencing Democrats as they try to talk about Trump's dictatorship.
I'm not a Republican.
For helping Republicans distract from Trump's attack on democracy, 20 secret Republican points. I really don't understand the point of Stephen A. Smith having a show about politics. The thing is, this man has the audacity, the unmitigated gall to go on the air and talk about politics without educating himself, without doing the research, without making sure that he really understands the issues.
And it's disgraceful that Stephen A. Smith continues to jump into politics when he does not know what he's talking about. And the fact that he would put insurrection with air quotes.
We are in a very fraught political moment where millions of us feel like we are fighting for our lives, we are fighting for our democracy. And here you come, joining the conversation, steeped in a lack of political knowledge.
When you say dumb stuff like, black people find it relatable that Donald Trump is indicted. When you say that, white folk now look at you and be like, aha, there's even a Negro that says that too. And he's just, he's kind of a useful idiot when it comes to things like that. Stakes are too high for that level of ignorance.
Why are you acting like I act like I have that depth?
You just out here attacking people out of ignorance like Jasmine Crockett.
And you being all disrespectful. As a representative in this country, do you believe the citizens of Texas sent you there to do that? They don't like him either. I'm talking about those who voted for her in all likelihood. But because he is who he is and he is in that position, they expect you to go to Capitol Hill and figure out a way to maneuver yourself through that terrain to work in a fashion that's going to facilitate getting things done on behalf of your constituents. That's your job.
So gross. It was very tone police. It was very Negro police. It was very, you're attacking the white man too much. You need to calm down and go back to work. It was very, you're being too black out here. He said Crockett's language was too street.
This educated, brilliant black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. And that's fine when you're in the streets. How many of you are able to think that for a second that you're able to bring street verbiage to Capitol Hill and that's going to work for you?
Are you calling her out for being too black around white folks? Is that what we're doing right now? Sure sounds like that.
So Stephen A. Smith got smoke for everybody except white men.
I got to give you 25 secret Republican points for attacking her on this tone police, on this Negro police shit. It's very, you need to pull your pants up.
You got to know how to talk to white folk. Jasmine Crockett, how dare you? You got to be nice to white folk.
But somehow your big point here is that if someone is belligerent, then they can't attack Trump for being belligerent.
If you're coming across as belligerent, undisciplined, and a loose cannon, how do you then get to say what Trump is?
This is nonsense. 30 secret Republican points. But Stephen's entire approach to politics is shallow and rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of politics. He thinks Jasmine hasn't passed that many bills because she hasn't made enough friends in Congress.
Crockett's performance in the House, according to research, and her success in delivering wins for her district is quote unquote mixed. She's active, ambitious, and visible, exceptional when it comes to fundraising. But many of her major efforts are still works in progress, bills stuck in committees, introduced but have stalled, etc., according to Congress.gov. I'm just reading. She faced similar difficulties as a state rep. The Texas legislature's sole black freshman had big plans for her first session. She ended up mostly playing defense, according to them. And what the implication was is that while she's great at fundraising, the challenge for her was cultivating relationships in Congress. And what does that mean? Potentially going across the aisle when you don't want to. Potentially going across the aisle, okay, when it might be in the best interest of the 750,000 constituents you represent. We know you're a Democrat. We know how disgusting and vile you find the president to be. You've told us on more than one occasion. What I was saying was, where's that going to get you when you're so willing and so apt to verbalize it the way that you choose to verbalize it? How is that going to be productive to your constituents?
So passing legislation is merely about making friends, and if you're sufficiently popular, then you're good? What? This is a child's perception of how Congress works.
You see that they don't have the House or the Senate, but she's supposed to be running roughshod through Capitol Hill, getting things done for her constituents. You know,
the legislative process is far more complex than just making friends. People don't vote for your legislation because they like you. They vote for it because they are getting something out of it. That's why we often have bills where there's lots of other things, pork stuffed in there that have nothing to do with the original bill, because that's how we got the congressperson from so-and-so to come along. That's how we got the senator from that other state to go along. But we're in an era of high partisanship, gridlock. Republicans have all the power, and they look at working with Dems as traitorous, and they look at Dems as powerless. They have no incentive to enact significant bipartisan legislation. The chance of passing any legislation at all is lower than it has ever been. We're doing Civics 101 now.
Can we get some of these bojankety, tap dancing, ignorant brothers out here, black men, to stop attacking black women publicly, especially when they don't know what the F they're talking about?
I'm so tired of him.
Always coming for women.
Always, at black women. Every chance he gets, he's singling out. If it's not women, then it's specifically targeted at black women when he looks like one. Because he looks, I don't care, he looks just like Marla Gibbs. Does anybody know who Marla Gibbs is? That played Florence on the Jeffersons?
One of Stephen A's central political ideas, you have to be nice to Trump. I mean, you have to work with him, so it's best to appease him. He does not use the word appease, he uses the word adapt. But it's only about adapting to make Trump happy. He doesn't think he's telling people to capitulate, but he is. Oh my God, whatever you do, don't call Trump a white supremacist.
There's a president in the United States that you're calling a white supremacist, and you're saying that the people who work under him are that as well. While you're in the government needing assistance from that administration to get things done.
I will be revoking Stephen A. Smith's black card.
You have adapted none of the moral courage of our civil rights and black power leaders who stood up to our oppressors.
When you talk about him, and then you label somebody like MAGA or anybody else, you're forgetting the fact that that basically compiles 77 million plus people who voted for him, who automatically and instinctually are going to believe if you're talking about him that way, you're really talking about them. And that's going to provoke progress in our country. And because I have the temerity, the unmitigated gall to bring up the fact that he's coming, adapt accordingly. I'm somebody that shouldn't be listened to. You don't believe me? You know Van Lathan, who used to work for TMZ. Did you see what he had to say about me? Play that clip, please. The man is coming. And you have to adjust accordingly.
Don't listen to that. Don't listen to none of that. I want you to think of anybody ever that you've respected. Think about Tubman, King, Chisholm, Baldwin, X, Evers, Baker, Rustin, whoever it is. Think about the people that you've respected and the way they reacted to the American political reality. They never acted accordingly.
Lies. Respectfully, because I like Van Lathan and I respect that brother. But that's not true. Martin Luther King adapted. Malcolm X adapted.
What? I let that clip go a little long so you could see the problem is not context. The problem is not that we don't understand Stephen A. Smith. The problem is that we do understand what he's saying. The man does not know what he's talking about, and yet he's still here talking. The work we need from our leaders right now is not just about appropriations bills and constituent services. We have a much higher fight right now. We need people to stand up to Trump as he tries to dismantle our democracy. For scolding our leaders for not being nice enough to Trump, 50 secret Republican points. I don't want leaders who adapt and play nice. I want leaders who will stand up and say, we are not accepting your attack on this democracy. Stephen A. is also big on both sidesism. There's no issue where he can't Bikram yoga stretch himself into saying, well, the other side does it too. This is always a way of seeing Dems as just as bad as Republicans, no matter how badly he has to bend and twist to make the point.
Because it is clear that there is some overreach going on with the Trump administration. It is clear that they are flexing a little bit too much. I'm very alarmed by it. Here's the problem. Did we say that when Tucker Carlson was pulled off the air?
What?
Government overreach, the Biden administration and what they were doing when it came to Facebook and X.
What?
Were we as outspoken then as we were over the last few days? Because you see, on this show, we're talking consistency.
False equivalence.
This is why I call myself an independent. This is why I call myself a centrist.
Straight shooter.
Because what I want to do is I want to be able to look at you based on the facts and say, you're right or you're wrong, and that's it. But when you're able to point to the other side doing the same damn thing, preceding you, by the way, and what you're doing, then it becomes a bit more alarming because the word hypocrisy comes into play.
Both sidesism.
And you're able to look at it and say, yo, the other side did the same thing. So why are we engaging in partisanship here?
Kimmel was removed because Trump ordered it. Tucker Carlson was not pushed off the air by the president. Tucker was dumped because advertisers were leaving the show in droves after a series of scandals. At no point did Biden have anything to do with Tucker being removed. So this wild both sidesism is just disinformation. He's saying what happened to Kimmel is normal. Every president does this. Biden did the same thing to Tucker, which is completely detached from political reality. For this both sidesism, sane washing, false equivalence, helping Republicans, 99 secret Republican points.
I'm not a Republican.
The imperative that some people have to see both sides as equally bad is a major problem in our modern political discourse. Both sides are not equally powerful, nor are they both equally driving our modern political conversation. To say both sides are bad does not make you seem above it all. It makes you seem like you have no idea what's going on. But when you insist on saying both sides are equally bad, you are covering for Trump, you are sane washing his madness, and you're confusing people. You're giving them misinformation. You are fomenting ignorance. Stephen A. also thinks that Democrats are behind the shutdown. But more than that, he thinks Dems actually want the shutdown because they want the voters to feel pain.
Meanwhile, if you're the Democrats, your attitude might be a revolt against voters. Let them have voters' remorse. Let them feel the pain for voting for this man back in office. And as a result, you're thinking about that instead of what's in the best interest of the country.
So the Democratic Party, which does not control any branch of government, is the one that is choosing the shutdown because they want people to feel pain? 75 secret Republican points. Dems want to hurt the country? It's amazing how little you think of the party you claim to be part of.
I'm not a Republican.
This is why I'm like, you must be a secret Republican. How could you be a Democrat if you think the Democratic Party is being this evil? Because this would be evil. You think Dems care so little about people that they want them to suffer. They want SNAP benefits to not go out to 40-some million people. And you would be part of that Democratic Party? I mean, if you think the Democratic Party is so evil that they want people to suffer, why would you be part of that? I wouldn't be part of that. But you're not really part of that. You're a secret Republican. I just don't know why you're in the political conversation at all. You keep saying people are talking about you running for president.
But there is no definitive national voice for the Democratic Party, which is why they keep mentioning me.
No one is mentioning you, dog. No elected official has called you to say, I think you should consider running for president. But this is Trump derangement syndrome for the wealthy, where Trump makes rich people feel like, you don't have to know anything about politics to run, so maybe I should run.
Why are you acting like I act like I have that depth?
He's the kid in class who did not read the book, but thinks that if he uses tricky words,
You say a lot of tricky words. No, I don't. I say regular words that's tricky to you.
maybe he can get by and trick us into thinking that he actually did read the book. Then maybe we won't notice that he doesn't know what he's talking about. I notice that you don't know what you're talking about. A lot of people who know what they're talking about, who understand politics, know that you don't know what you're talking about.
Everybody saw the movie Django Unchained. Remember the name of the person who cared more about the love of the slave master than he did about the love of his people or the care for his people? His name was Stephen. And Stephen was somebody who was willing to sell out his fellow African enslaved people. So what I would say to the Stephens who are in our world today, understand that the master will never love you.
You're like Trump in that you're both short on knowledge and long on bluster, getting by in the political space with attitude. We don't need another uninformed voice in politics. We already have too many. We're in the fight of our political lives, and you're an uneducated tourist.
Straight shooter.
This over here, political conversation, this is serious. Sports analysis is entertainment. If you tell people your team will definitely win, I guarantee it, and they don't, who cares? Political broadcasting? This is deeply serious. The outcomes here shape people's lives. So broadcasters who are going on the air and misinforming people are doing the devil's work. If you care so little about the audience that you can't even be bothered to make sure you know what you're talking about, what are you doing?
Why are you acting like I act like I have that depth?
Thank you so much for watching this. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video and what you think I should talk about next.